afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are enjoying today's day 2, and we just came from lunch. I hope I'll not bore you all, and I'll try my best to keep you all awake. Okay, like introduced, my name is Tuwilika Elias, and I am an emerging public policy analyst, as well as an HIV and gender-based violence advocate, a Fulbright alumni with a master's degree in public affairs with a focus on public policy from the University of Missouri, and that's Columbia. I love books, nature is my happy place, and I'm currently exploring the world through coffee. While I'm all of those beautiful things and I hold those titles, I'm also a rape survivor and one of the 26 million people living with HIV in Africa. I was 19 years old when I found out I was HIV positive, and all I knew was that, or I thought that I was gonna die, and I thought I was gonna die so young, and for a moment, I didn't see any reason to be alive. I feared becoming like the image so often shown on social media, frail, dying, and shamed. Ooh, give me a moment. I know what it feels like to live with HIV. I know what it feels like to walk in the shadows of HIV. I know that guilt can be present and guilt can take a great deal of a human being, and I felt that. I know what it looks like to walk in the shadows of stigma, but at the same time also fearing that people will not accept you. In 2021, I publicly disclosed my, I forgot about the whole title. Forgot about the presentation. Nothing to disclose, that's me. Oh my goodness. At least, you all could have told me. Okay, in 2021, I publicly disclosed my HIV status through an article titled A Letter to My Rapist. I wanted freedom. I wanted to stop running from the world and myself. I know in the beginning I wanted to die, but now I had learned to live while thinking that I was dying. I didn't want to become another statistic, and I wanted to be counted in every sense. I wanted to live my dreams and aspirations that I had before HIV. At the end of the day, HIV is just a part of my journey, and I had dreams. I wanted to become the role model I wish I had within the HIV community. And as much as my coming out was to liberate myself, above everything else was to bring the voices of young people in discussion, especially pertaining to HIV and gender-based violence. I often get, but you don't look like you have HIV. HIV does not have a face. I'm so sorry. You all have to just excuse me with the presentation slides. In February 2025, yes, okay. In February 2025, I found myself bearing someone. 7 children left orphans and in poverty. Because of the mistreatment in our society, many people are living stories of suffering, hospitals, and then death. This is how silence, stigma, and discrimination bring harm. It isolates people and makes them vulnerable to many social issues. People refrain from disclosing their HIV status to potential partners, and they also refrain from testing, because that to test for HIV can also be a test for your morality. That to be found HIV positive, you must have done something wrong, and in cases of young people, you must be promiscuous. I was at home, I wasn't wearing anything short, yet that did not spur me from rape. Stigma in our health facilities deter people from seeking health care. I remember an example. I was an undergrad student, and often I had to choose between either using my taxi money to go write a test or be present in an important lesson, or using that money to go get my ARVs on time. And often, I was met with scolding rather than sitting me down and engaging me to understand why am I late. I'm the last person you would want to lecture on why it's important for me to take my ARVs or why I need to do a pap smear so often. Healthcare workers are often not equipped with the right training and language to deal with the diverse and sensitive realities of patients they bring. That too is a form of institutional failure. Okay. Stigma and discrimination are more dangerous than the virus itself. It affects members of our society, creates disruptions in our social functions, increasing people's vulnerability to infection, and reducing the overall performances of community. Every week, 4,000 adolescent girls and young women become infected with HIV globally. Of that amount, 3,100 occurs in sub-Saharan Africa. I deeply understand the intersection of HIV, gender-based violence, and poverty. The reality is that a young girl is going to get into a relationship for basic needs. A mother or a woman is going to stay in an abusive relationship for survival purposes. We cannot talk about ending HIV as a public health threat by 2030 without addressing poverty and inequality. It's 5 years from Vision 2030, and it's said that we are still going to be late. So I'm told, you can live a beautiful life. You can live out your potential. It's not the end of the world, but the very same institutions that give me so much hope are the same institutions telling me that you are not worth the investment. Systemic discrimination and inequality at its worst. When I received my scholarship, after submitting my medical report, I was asked if I would still take the scholarship because they don't cover for any pre-existing conditions, including HIV. People are denied scholarship opportunities based on their HIV status. Some people refrain from applying for opportunities because you are required to submit an HIV report. This limits an individual's right to education, training, and development, and further perpetuates discrimination and stigma in our societies. I successfully challenged the Fulbright program health policy. My advocacy resulted in a reverse policy that now provides health insurance to any HIV-positive scholar. We ought to be each other's keepers. Despite global advancements and accessibility to long-acting injectable HIV preventions and treatment options, global health disparities remain an issue in Africa. It makes me ask the question, are we an afterthought? Why is it that we must always fight for basic needs? COVID-19 have shown us the reality of the situation. Include young people in policies, in implementation processes. We have created a voice for them at the table, but now it's also important that their leadership is present at the table, especially when it comes to implementation. It's important that when you address the social issues, that you include those that are most affected. Otherwise, that program, initiative, or policy is doomed to fail. And history has shown us that we can't act surprised or we can't act like we don't know. My beloved Africa, for decades, foreign aid has been the backbone of Africa's HIV and AIDS response. And I'm grateful for the progress that we have been able to make as a continent because of that aid. But what happens when it's no longer available? Who is going to fund our hospitals, our clinics, and our community outreach programs? Now is the time to take accountability and responsibility. South Africa, Botswana, Angola are doing it. The rest of us can too. The fight against HIV and AIDS is a community responsibility. When I learned that I was to cater for my own ARVs, my plan was to ship ARVs from Namibia every 4 months to the US. My friend Esther Nantana was all in. We were going to cover the cost. With no savings account, I don't know how we're going to manage and pay DHL, but we're going to do it. Plan B. I knew that the First Lady, Monica Gengos, Namibia's former third First Lady, was at least going to be attending every year the United Nations General Assembly in New York. I was going to ask her to bring my ARVs along. My friend Setsabile Shiba from Eswatini, without my knowledge, wrote an email to our advisor asking her to make it easier for me to at least access my ARVs at school, or at least escalate the matter to the higher up within the program. While I use these two examples, my fearlessness and my boldness is a result of the people that I have around me. It's also an indication that you don't have to be HIV positive to play a role. HIV is just not a medical issue. It is a shared responsibility between individuals, communities, and institutions. Did I cry while trying to navigate a divergent health system in a foreign country? Yes, I did. Did I get a 2.9 GPA and got an academic probation in my first semester because I was stressed? I was struggling to find an NGO that could give me health insurance to cover for my ARVs and at least medical expenses? I did. Did I have moments of regret for leaving free ARVs in that one? Yo, I regretted. Yes, I did. But irregardless, I refuse to be limited to one country simply because of my HIV status. That I refuse. We need to reform silent policies that exclude people living with HIV. There is an urgent need for policy change and implementations of the right programs within and among countries globally. That's in bold. And inequalities in all their forms if we want to end HIV and AIDS. Acknowledge and address the deep link between HIV, gender-based violence, as well as poverty. Let's end global health disparities. Zambia can't be the only country in Africa that has access to long injectable HIV prevention and treatment options. Let's create safe spaces starting in our homes, schools, and communities, as well as systems, so that people, girls, boys, women, don't keep quiet until it's too late. I did, and now here we are. I believe that the fight against HIV and AIDS is not only the responsibility of the government or higher institutions. It belongs to all of us. We owe it to ourselves we owe it to ourselves and to the generations to come to break the silence, dismantle the stigma, and replace inequality and equity with opportunities and accessibility. Thank you for listening. Let's break barriers together.